Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kristen. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today, this is kind of a very specific book haul. And these are books that belong to my mother. So I mentioned in my previous video, I lost my mother suddenly last month. And she was the one who gave me my love for books, my love for reading. She was a lifelong educator, just had grown up originally even wanting to be a teacher in like Appalachia, and that kind of really heartfelt love of wanting to specifically educate those at risk. And so she ended up becoming a pastor and serving at multiple churches and leading multiple retreats and just impacting a plethora of different arenas and lives. And her service was very well attended with multiple stories of how she touched people's lives, especially on the spiritual level and soul felt level and healing of the spirit level. She particularly had passion for sitting with people in the difficult parts of life. And so even her doctor, when he found out that she had passed, confessed that he actually confidentially had talked to her about his own faith and spirituality, and that was a real comfort to him, who wasn't a big churchgoer or believer, but that mom was really important in his life. So this is the kind of start of these books, which are going to be very different than books that I normally choose. She really, really had a passion for kind of the murder mystery thriller kind of books that I don't generally gravitate towards. It was a Agatha Christie completionist. She completely had read everything that I think she had ever written, and she loved John Grisham. She loved David Baldacci. Popular crime and mysteries. So she read all these Sue Grafton books, all that kind of good stuff. So I've shown this before as one of my favorite treasures, but this is her copy of Anne of Green Gables, which she read in 4th grade and fell in love with Anne. And my mom was actually born A-N-N, Anne, but she legally changed her name to adding the E after reading this. And when I first read this book myself, I was like, this isn't a good character. Anne is like mischievous. She's, got that kind of defiance. But then as I thought about it, it's like, yeah, that would resonate with my mother as well. So, I will always cherish this book, and I read it again later and just really, really love the sweetness and the classic goodness that is Anne of Green Gables on even a bigger level. Now, my mom did not like to have books. So like I have close to 200 books on my TBR that I'm going to try to whittle down to like 100 over the next, year and a half. But my mom did not like having more than like 5 unread books in the house. She wanted to only bring in books that she was going to read and read soon. She didn't like, it stressed her out to see a bunch of unread books on her shelf. So there were 3 that I know exactly where she kept those books that she was going to read next that were unread. And so I asked my father if I could take those 3. So I'm going to start with those 3. So these are the 3 books that were sitting on my mom's TBR pile. So I'm going to read them in her behalf since she won't get to. So David Baldacci. Now I have wanted to read him, but I have never read him. So this one, A Calamity of Souls, I believe this is a newer one, at least less than 2 years old. I've started reading it. So it is a story that is told in Virginia back in the 60s with a murder mystery where a black man is accused of killing his 2 white employers. And it's pretty apparent that he did not do it, but he starts getting framed. All these other political tensions start to rise. So it is very well written. So I may be reading quite a bit more of this author based off of being introduced to that one now. I had just read my first Michael Connelly book, The Desert Star, and really enjoyed it. So here's another one that my mom had sitting here. I'm assuming it's also a fairly new one, The Waiting. I'm not sure what it's about, but again, I know it's going to be like a detective, if not a murder mystery kind of story. And then finally, another kind of murder mystery, Close to Death, Anthony Horowitz. So I read The Magpie Murders, and I did not like it, y'all. It's an unpopular opinion, I know. I know that that's usually the book that people talk about when they're talking about this author. And I don't read a lot of murder mystery, but I found it exceedingly predictable and just annoying. And so I want to go into this book on my mom's behalf with I'm going to love it. I mean, there's a pin kind of shadowing the arrow, so I'm hoping it has something else to do. The other one he wrote did have to do with writing and authors and books and that kind of thing centered around murder mysteries. So I'm hopeful that this one is going to re-spark my interest, and because there are a lot of other books by him that I haven't read. So those three for sure I know she hadn't read but was about to read. Then she has a shelf that I think it was her rereads. Like, these are books that she read once, she really was struck by them, and she would often reread books. And so I think these are her rereads, or I'm wanting to hold on to them to have them close at hand, because she did have a closet that she would put away her books that she wanted to keep permanently, but they weren't on display. And so this is the shelf that are not her theological workbooks, but were on display that I have not read. There were several that I had read, and so I left those for somebody else because I either own them and keep them myself, or I've passed them on because I don't feel the need to reread them. But she had read some really good ones. So here's another David Baldacci, The Edge. I'm not sure if this one for sure is a reread, but I'm assuming that it is because of where it was located. So I don't know, but it doesn't matter because eventually I will get them read and they will count no matter what. She also had this John Grisham, Boys from Biloxi. Now I know she had for a while been burnt out on John Grisham. I've read a very large amount of his early works, and then I got kind of like to the point where I was like, they're all kind of feeling the same. And I know my mom did that too, but my last conversation with her about John Grisham is that she had really enjoyed a couple of his latest books, and so I'm thinking this is one of the ones that she was talking about that she really loved and even was thinking about rereading. So I'm really excited actually to pick that up because I'm a pretty big fan of his. This is an interesting one, The Fire Within. This is a little theological book, but it was put with her fiction books, but it is talking about sexuality as desiring and longing for closeness, not only with people, but with God himself. And I believe that God created sex and that we miss that. Like, a lot of times we think, oh, God is against sex. But I think God made sex and made it to be good and built that desire within us. I don't think it should be treated lightly or flippantly. I think that's how we get hurt, that it's powerful. And so anyway, it's a short little book, and I'm like intrigued that it was where it was on her shelves. And I'm like, I'm definitely going to pick that up and read that. So I'll let you know what nuggets I glean from it. This one, However Far the Streams Flow. This is Kofi Bohine, and it says MD. So he is I know he's African, but I'm not sure what country, because he's currently in Maryland, and he does like mostly cosmetic plastic surgery, but his heart is to, once he has money and means saved up, he flies on his own dollar around to other at-risk countries and performs surgeries free of charge. And so this just totally seems like my mom as well as myself, and just having a real great experience to learn about something else beautiful happening in the world. I've never heard of this one, I don't think. The Wiregrass, Pam Weber. So this is a story set in Alabama with cousins, and then I think there's a mysterious boy that shows up that kind of starts romancing one of the female cousins, and then there's, I don't know if it's a family secret or a small town secret, but something that also has that kind of mystery, maybe murder, I'm not sure, but something crooked is going on and becomes kind of ominous and dangerous and turns a carefree cousin Summer into something more serious. So that definitely sounds fun. This one I surprisingly haven't read, The Starless Sea, Aaron Wilkinson. So this is the same author that wrote Night Circus. I happen to be a fan of the Night Circus. I understand some of people's arguments or difficulties with that book, but overall I just think it's such a magical, mystical, atmospheric book that I adore it. So this is another one where they are going into a world that is a world within our world, obviously in the sea, but it centers around books, and books that kind of like the Labyrinth of Spirits, where there's a mysterious pull of books becoming reality, and you pick the book or the book picks you, and you read into it your own story and get sucked in, kind of thing. So I love that kind of story. I know sometimes it feels like it's way out there too much, but considering this is an author I've already jived with, I think that's going to be really good, and I know my mother loved that book. And then she also had the henna artist, Alka Josi. So this is the story of a young girl who's going to have arranged marriage, but she wants her own life and independence. So she becomes the henna artist for wealthy women, but then gets sucked into a lot of the drama and political happenings that are going on. The henna tattoos are like stories, but then she gets sucked into other people's stories. So again, I think this is going to be really, really awesome. I usually have a deep interest also in Indian culture, and think that will be a great book. So there was 9 books. So I've been trying to limit my books coming into my home and abode, but remember my mother and travel with her, and to read the things that she was going to read or had read or was going to reread. They have come into my life. I am going to read a couple of them right away, and the others I will try to work in as I can, hopefully in the next year. If it takes me a couple of years, I'm not gonna hold that against myself. But let me know, because I'm not as familiar with some of these books and authors, if you've read any, if there's any that you go, oh, actually, I've watched your channel, Kristen, I think this one might be one you should bump up on your list, or that kind of thing. Or even if there's a caution like, hey, look out for this or that or the other, that would be awesome. But I just appreciate all of the love and support and messages reaching out about the loss of my mom. She was just a beautiful, amazing woman who just had a big heart for reading, for education, for loving people, and allowing each person to recognize the child of God that they are and the beauty within. And even my intro of greeting people as beautiful people really at heart came from my mother. Just seeing every single person as the beautiful creation that they are. I just firmly believe in that. She firmly believed in that. And I just hope that I continue to carry that on and just allow this world to see the beauty, even amidst the chaos, even amidst the gross, troubled, fearful tension that is also the broken world, that we hold on to that goodness and that love. So may you do that in your day. Leave me a comment below. Thank you for stopping by. Like and subscribe. See you soon.
But you're not gonna get me. I'm gonna get you. Oh, yeah. What's mommy doing?